Hello, and welcome to Radio to Real. My name is Rhonda, and I will be your host. So today we're going to take a journey to the uncool. And if you understand that reference, I applaud you. The movie we are going to review today and dig into the soundtrack is, I would say, one of my top 3 favorite movies. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is a trilogy, so I wrap it up into one, but this movie made me who I am. And I will explain why. There's so many great facts about this film and the soundtrack. Today, we're going to talk about Almost Famous. Almost Famous is a 2000s American comedy drama filmed, written, and directed by Cameron Crowe. There's a bunch of amazing actors and actresses in this film. It tells the story of a teenage journalist writing for Rolling Stone magazine in the early 1970s, touring with a fictitious rock band called Stillwater, and writing his first cover story on the band. The film is semi-autobiographical, based on Cameron Crowe's experiences as a teenage writer for Rolling Stone. The Almost Famous soundtrack album was released by DreamWorks on September 12th, 2000, and it was awarded the 2001 Grammy Award for Best Compilation Soundtrack Album. Now, a little bit about the movie before we dive into the soundtrack, because even creating the compilation of all the different artists on the soundtrack and writing songs for the fictitious band Stillwater for the film have their own stories. But the film itself has some amazing build up to it. So Cameron Crowe sent the script for Almost Famous around Hollywood to see who would respond to it, and it landed in the hands of Steven Spielberg. Can you imagine? And I just watched an interview recently where Amy Poehler on her podcast Good Hang was speaking to Steven Spielberg and asking him, how does he handle the awkwardness people are around him, because he's such a huge person and a big name. Like, our whole life is just wrapped around different Steven Spielberg movies. And he just said, I'm not worried about it. I am who I am, and I love to meet people also, so they shouldn't be worried about me. It seems so simple because he's just a guy, but my goodness. So Cameron Crowe's script landed in the hands of Spielberg, and Spielberg read the 172-page script over the weekend and called Crowe on Monday to say, quote, direct every word, unquote. Unsurprisingly, Spielberg's instincts were right, as Crowe filmed nearly the entirety of this draft, winning the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. And we will go over the accolades later, but that is the one big award that they won, which was for Best Original Screenplay. It didn't do so well in the box office, but it achieved cult status over time. It was considered a box office failure, grossing just $32.5 million in America. Add that to the foreign take of $14.8 million, and it fell well short of its $60 million budget. Cameron Crowe's previous film, Jerry Maguire, took in $273.5 million worldwide. So that could just really show you the huge difference how people reacted to this film at first. And when it came to the soundtrack, but also preparing the film, the musical budget for the studio films in that era rarely exceeded $1.5 million. And when you think musical budgets for films, it's being able to contact the artist and buy out that song and ask if they're able to be used. I brought that up a bit when we talked about School of Rock, because Jack Black had to beg and plead to Led Zeppelin to use Immigrant Song. But with Almost Famous, the music budget, featuring over 50 songs by major artists, major artists, was $3.5 million. Huge difference considering a lot of films were about $1.5 million. Cameron Crowe even got guitarist Jimmy Page to agree to allow Led Zeppelin's music to appear in the film. This is something Zeppelin hadn't done since letting Cameron Crowe use Kashmir in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So a little bit more when it comes to Zeppelin, because there are a few songs in the film. Crowe and Bramson scored a major coup in securing a Led Zeppelin recording of That's the Way for the movie. Robert Plant and Jimmy Page have never licensed one of their performances to a soundtrack. Virtually all of the material they've recorded have been issued on their own Swan Song / Atlantic label. Crowe and Bramson flew to London in May to screen Almost Famous for Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. And they were so moved by the film that they not only granted the use of the one song, That's the Way, for the soundtrack, but also gave their blessing for Crowe to use 4 other songs in the movie. The Rain Song, Misty Mountain Hop, Tangerine, and Bron Yr. I can never say that well, so don't come at me, please. And that's just preparing the songs to be able to be in the movie before it's released. Again, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant got to see an early screening of the film just to agree that the story needed these songs. It was of that era. It was Cameron Crowe's life. Again, it was semi-autobiographical. They understood. And again, makes a huge difference in the film. When That's the Way is playing, perfect moment. So something really cool that I didn't know before researching for this film, creating of the soundtrack, especially writing the songs for the fictitious band Stillwater, the lead singer of Heart, Nancy Wilson, was a huge part of that because at the time she was married to Cameron Crowe. So let's talk a little bit about that too before we dive into the film. Cameron Crowe told Film Comment that while honeymooning in 1986 with his then wife, Nancy Wilson of the band Heart, they holed up in a cabin in Oregon and created a fake band and wrote songs. Quote, knowing sort of one day we might do a movie where we could use this stuff, he said. Almost 15 years later, those songs became a reality, unquote. Nancy Wilson states, quote, the problem with many rock star movies that feature a fictitious band is that the fake songs are almost always unconvincing, unquote. She continues to say, so we try to be as authentic as possible, and Cameron helped write songs too. We took the idea, and this was reflected in the film, that Stillwater was a band in the early 70s that was just on the cusp of breaking through really big. We were thinking of bands like Led Zeppelin, Bad Company, Cream, and wanted to create a blend of those, unquote. Wilson was also thinking of all the bands that have crossed her path during touring with Heart in the early days. Quote, there was such a different sound back then and even a different way of singing. We decided that all of their songs would be about hitting the road with the band or dealing with a father complex. Stillwater's songs came together remarkably fast. Writing for a fake band and characters gives you an enormous sense of freedom. She admits, I'm not thinking about whether the lyric is one that's bearing my soul or whether it's really just too personal, and whether it's one I'm going to have to live with if I was writing for myself or for Heart. With Stillwater, we could just have a lot of fun. Lots of father, father phrases, and ones that just beg to be screamed in a really earthy, bluesy rock voice. And that feeling blends very well with all of these well-known artists on the soundtrack. So now let's start digging into the movie. There are so many more songs in the film than there are on the soundtrack that you would find on Spotify or where you would listen to music. So today I'm going to go over every single song and where it's at and what is happening around that time, just like I do. But as you go back and listen to the soundtrack, it will seem a lot shorter. There was also a extra release of an album that supplied all of these extra songs. It was called Untitled, and it was the film with some bonus features and a Stillwater concert on the DVD. It was very exciting. I was lucky enough to get my hand on a copy back then. And if you would like to go back and read any of these articles that I'm referencing, all of my links will be in the show notes. I have some amazing articles from something called the uncool, too complex, too mental floss, too louder sound, and so on and so forth. So we start the film with a montage of California during Christmas time. And obviously it's a warm climate, so you don't see any snow. And we are introduced to our first two main characters, which is William, and he is very young, preteen at the time, walking out of the movies with his mom, played by Frances McDormand. They're discussing the film they went to go see, To Kill a Mockingbird. And in the background, the Chipmunk song by the Chipmunks is playing, where they're singing about Christmas. But obviously, it doesn't feel like Christmas because it's California and everything is sunny, and they show people driving around in their Volkswagen buses with surfboards on the roof and just walking around watering their plants. Then, as we are still getting to know our characters, we see William, again, younger preteen boy. He's in the bathroom at school looking into the mirror with all of his fellow classmates who are much taller and already growing their mustaches and beards. And he's feeling very small. And at this time, the song, the Ooga Boogum song by Brenton Wood, is being played. William has a discussion with his mom and his sister Anita at this time. Anita is played by Zooey Deschanel. And he learns that he is a lot younger than the kids because of when he started school. So he's not as close to puberty as he would want to be. But his sister is getting older. She's about to turn 18. She has a hard relationship with her mother, so she wants to run away to become a stewardess. And at this time, she is in the living room, and she's sitting with the mom, showing her reason why she wants to leave. And being able to show her emotions, she puts on America by Simon and Garfunkel. After she leaves, she leans down to her brother William, a very iconic part. Their faces are full screen, big eyes, talking to each other. She tells him that he will someday be cool. And she whispers in his ear that all of her albums are under the bed. The mom at the time thought that rock music or anything of that sort was devil's music, so they were not allowed to listen to anything like that in their household. So William went to his sister Anita's room and found this huge bag of records underneath her bed. And as he opens it, the first album he sees is Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Now, a really cool fact about this moment, the albums William finds under the bed were Cameron Crowe's actual personal collection. In 2000, Cameron Crowe shared with the Rolling Stone, quote, "I shot that scene so many times with the albums in different orders, but Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys was always first. That album is the sweetest, sad thing I've ever heard," unquote. And then there's a note sitting underneath one of the albums, and it says, "Play Tommy with a candle burning, and you will see your future." Tommy is a full album by The Who, which reflects the movie Tommy also. The song that starts playing next, which leads into a montage as William is getting older, and that song is Sparks by The Who. Now we're introduced to William as a teenager, which is played by Patrick Fugit. So William is just in class. He's a cool kid. He's just kind of chilling. He's writing all these band names on his binder, like Led Zeppelin and Cream and The Who and Rolling Stone, everybody like that. And then we're introduced to someone that our character William looks up to, and that is Lester Bangs. He is a DJ and a rock writer. He reviews music, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. So now we're introduced to this new character, Lester Bangs. And Lester Bangs is at a local radio station, just talking about music and everything. And William is on the outside looking in. And during this time, Lester Bangs is going through the different albums, and he requests to play Search and Destroy by Iggy Pop. And he pulls that album out. It gets put on the turntable, and that is the next song we hear. Another cool fact about this moment is that the shirt that Lester Bangs, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, is wearing at this time is an Iggy Pop shirt that used to be Cameron Crowe's shirt. So again, the director's just throwing in his real life into this movie. I absolutely love it. Lester Bangs and William get to know each other a little bit better at this time. They sit and have lunch, and then Lester gives him an assignment to write 1,000 words on the band Black Sabbath. So William goes home, tells his mom that he has this assignment, and he has to go to this concert to review the band. And he's doing it for the magazine Cream because that is who Lester Bangs is working for. So it's an assignment from him. So he's going to go as a reporter for Cream magazine. There's going to be a lot of songs just kind of popping up at different moments, and I will explain when and why. But they get kind of blurred at times. So I'll just start kind of throwing them out there. But as you watch the film, you'll notice where these songs kind of pop in, pop out. The first song we hear as he's getting to the concert hall to see Black Sabbath is It Wouldn't Have Made Any Difference by Todd Rundgren. And then as they're at the concert hall, the stage door keeps opening, closing. There's cars going down the ramp into the back of the theater. So again, there's a lot of songs that pop in and out. The first one we hear is Paranoid by Black Sabbath. And William is trying to get into the back of the theater, but he keeps getting denied by the security at the backstage door. Another song as the stage door is opening is Teacher by Jethro Tull. He walks to the top of the ramp, and this is where he meets the Band-Aids. The Band-Aids are not groupies. The Band-Aids are girls who love the band and care for the music. And they are led by none other than Penny Lane, who is played by Kate Hudson. Now, there are many other Band-Aids. I'm not going to name them all because we're here today to talk about the music, but there are a lot of other amazing actresses that are a part of this group of Band-Aids. So let me know who you notice when you watch this movie. So as he's talking to the Band-Aids, they go down to the stage and they see Black Sabbath and they get brought in, but William is still being left outside. When the doors open again, Roundabout by Yes is playing. He walks back up to the ramp. He's not excited. The band Stillwater barrels out of their tour bus and they get to know William, and they allow him to follow through the stage door saying, "He's with me, he's with me." Another song that's playing at this time when the door opens again is Your Move by Yes. So now William is backstage. He's taking his notes. He's getting to know people. He goes and finds Penny Lane again. The lead singer of Stillwater walks over. His name is Russell, and that is played by Billy Crudup. And him and Penny Lane seem to kind of know each other, but William doesn't really understand, and he's just trying to introduce them to each other as if they don't know each other, but they're immediately flirting. The song Feel Flows by the Beach Boys is playing. And as they're flirting even more, the song changes to the song River by Joni Mitchell. So now, they're backstage. The Band-Aids and William are standing at the side of the stage in the front, and this is the first song we're introduced to by this fictitious band, Stillwater. But again, they have their own catalog of music in this film. It feels like a real band. The first song they play is called Fever Dog. I can't stress enough how amazing this song is. When I worked at a radio station in college, I would even play it as if it was a real band. It jammed so hard. It was so good. Just like Lester Bangs says, it has that kind of buzz. You just feel it. And again, as Nancy Wilson was explaining too, it has this kind of bluesy vibe to it. You just want to move and kind of like sway and close your eyes. And that's a little bit of what Penny Lane is doing on the side of the stage when she's jamming out with William. So now a little bit about Stillwater as a band. To look like a real rock band, the 4 actors in Stillwater rehearsed for 4 hours a night, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Jason Lee, who plays the lead singer in the band, even copied the moves of Paul Rogers, the lead singer of Free and Bad Company, to accurately portray rock star Jeff. So Stillwater is done with their set, and they're backstage and they're leaving, and Russell is talking to William about visiting them at the Hyatt House Hotel to kind of party and talk more and have an interview. The song Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath is playing, only to assume that in that realm of time, they are on stage playing. So now William has a new assignment. Instead of reviewing Black Sabbath, he now has a chance to interview Stillwater and hang out with them at the Hyatt House. So he decides to meet up with Penny, and they are going to go drive to the Hyatt House together to be with the band. When they're driving and hanging out together, the song Every Picture Tells a Story by Rod Stewart is playing. As they're walking through the hotel hallways, William stops and hears two people singing an acoustic set of the song Small Time Blues, and that's sung by Pete Droge. They make it to the room with the band. Penny Lane walks in, makes a huge kind of speech about starting a party and getting everything going. Just everyone has their eyes on her. They have their guitars out. The lead singer, Jeff, played by Jason Lee, is singing the song Something in the Air by Thunderclap Newman. And it's just kind of an acoustic jam. So now coming up again is another group of songs that are just kind of thrown into different transitions of the film. William is talking on the phone. He's getting more popular when it comes to writing. He gets an opportunity from Rolling Stone magazine when they call him and ask him about joining Stillwater on the road. And then he's on his phone with Lester, just asking about if it's a good idea, how should he work this, how is it going to feel being on the road with a band. Lester tries to give him all these tips and tricks, but he just knows this is a young kid he's going to be taken advantage of, but then also have the time of his life. Two songs that happen around this time. One is Easy to Slip by Little Feat, and another one is Go All the Way by Raspberries. And then he's talking to his mom about joining the band on the road, and she's freaking out and upset, but then she melts and just gives him all these rules about when he has to call her, when he has to be back before graduation, and he has to have all his tests done. The song Mr. Farmer by The Seeds is playing at this time. Now, there is a song that Cameron Crowe says he would have wanted it here during this moment or during this transition into him finally joining the band, but it was not officially in the film. But that song would be Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. We could always dream, but that is one song he didn't get from Led Zeppelin. But he got a handful of others, so I would be happy. So now he's starting his traveling with Stillwater exclusively. He's hanging out in the bus. The song One Way Out by the Allman Brothers plays. They make it to the next hotel room where the next show is going to be, and William's hanging out with the Band-Aids in their room. The song Albert Flasher by the Guess Who is playing. And then again, we're at a concert, we're backstage, we're jamming out. The song Love Thing by Stillwater is playing because they're on stage. Absolutely love it, great song. William is having a hard time getting the guitarist Russell to sit down for an interview. There's a lot of emotions going on. Russell is kind of the quieter one, and he's very clung to Penny Lane. And William feels very close to Penny Lane. They're close in age. She's very nice to him. They have a connection. And he keeps telling her, hey, you got to help me get this interview. So they're hanging out by the pool of the hotel after the band has a different interview with somebody else. The song Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd is playing. He talks to Russell. Russell tells him to turn off his recorder and just says, please, just make us look cool. Just write for us. Just make us look cool. And this was actually a moment that Cameron Crowe experienced in the past with another band where they pulled him aside as a young kid saying, hey, just write us cool. So later on, they are at another concert, and there is a huge issue with the electrical stuff on stage, and Russell grabs his microphone and he gets electrocuted. The band leaves, they're pissed off, they're arguing with the managers, and the song That's the Way by Led Zeppelin is playing after they escape the concert and they're driving away on the bus, heading to their next location. So at their next location, William is in the backstage area on a payphone with his mom. And the mom is asking where he's at. He's not supposed to be there anymore. He needs to be home. He says it's fine, it's going to be okay, but everything is very, very loud. The song that is playing in the background, kind of drowning everything out, is the song Hour of Need by Stillwater. So there's a lot going on between different characters at this time. The emotions are heightened. The band's working really hard. They're doing their best. William can't get the interviews he needs. Penny Lane and Russell are just very connected, and William's just getting really stressed out and sick of it. He's happy he has friends and fun, but he's not getting what he needs. The band has merchandise given to them, and it just shows that they are not equal. They are having issues in the band, and they have a fight. After this fight, Russell takes William, saying he wants to go feel something real. He doesn't want to be a star anymore. He doesn't want to be in a band. He wants to feel something real. So they walk out of this big, huge venue into the neighborhood and just see all these teenagers driving around, walking around, and they're looking at him like, is that the guitarist of Stillwater? And they're just being looked at as they're walking away from the venue. At this time, the song Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere by Neil Young is playing. Russell and William run into this group of kids driving their Volkswagen bus, and they pull over and they're like, hey man, do you just want to like come to a party? Like, we're cool people just looking for a good time. Like, we're not bad people. Russell like is in this very emotional state, and he's like, heck yeah, we're going to that party. There's so much happening in this moment at this party. The songs keep changing. So let me just go over a list of them. The first one we hear is Future Games by Fleetwood Mac. Then it's Cortez the Killer by Neil Young. Then it's Burn by Deep Purple. Then we have a Stillwater song called You Had to Be There. And then lastly, Dear Jill by Bloodwind Pig. There's a lot of ruckus happening at this party. Russell is tripping on acid, and he ends up standing on top of the garage roof or the house roof or something right above the pool. And everyone's down by the pool just staring at him with their drinks going, yeah, you're awesome, just applauding him. And they ask him, what are your last words? You're going to jump into the pool. He says, I'm a golden god. And then he jumps into the pool. A really cool fact about this, the lead singer of Led Zeppelin once said this while looking over the Sunset Strip at the famous Hollywood Riot House. Robert Plant even attended an early screening of Almost Famous, as we know, and during that scene when Russell claims he never said I'm a golden god, Robert Plant pronounced, well, I did. Which I'm so happy he had good humor over that, because that's such a pinnacle moment in the movie. So Russell felt so powerful. He's tripping on acid. He knows he's a rock star, but he's trying to be cool for all these kids. He jumps off the roof, proclaims, I'm a golden god, and then the next day happens. He's coming down from his trip. He's acting angry and upset and sad. The band manager comes to pick him up, and they leave on the tour bus. Everyone's mad at each other. No one wants to talk. They're still upset from the argument about the merchandise, and Russell's still coming down from his trip. No one's happy. William and Penny are sitting together in the back of the bus, and then music just kind of starts happening. Nice, slow fade in to my favorite song, Tiny Dancer by Elton John. And if you want to know what's my favorite song, I have it tattooed on my chest. This is such an iconic moment. They all start kind of lip syncing the music, and then the drummer's kind of playing the drums, and then they all start just singing it out loud together once the chorus hits. William turns to Penny and proclaims, I need to go home. Penny puts her hand up, stares him right in the face, tells him, you are home. And now this is our group of people. This is this family, this band, the Band-Aids, and William. Just an amazing group of people. So now a really cool fact about the specific song Tiny Dancer and the moment in this movie, VH1 aired a special version of Elton John's Tiny Dancer music video, which featured the tour bus scene lifted straight from the film, complete with scripted dialogue from Kate Hudson, Billy Crudup, and Noah Taylor. Cameron made an amazing movie that is just sweet and tender and fun. Someone from VH1's Executive VP of Talent and Music Programming states, when Tiny Dancer comes on in the movie, it's pretty touching, and Elton is still a relevant artist to us, so we broke it out and we're playing it a lot. And that's something I really remember from this time, especially in the early 2000s. I would wake up every morning before school and I would turn on VH1 because they would be constantly playing music videos for so many hours every morning. And this is something that they did, is they kept artists relevant because of what was happening in films and the use of these songs in these movies. Another one that I remember is when they would play the movie Chicago and they would do all that jazz, but they would clip it straight from the film. So it was considered like a music video. So now everybody is in better spirits and they make it to the next hotel, and William calls Lester Bangs. The song Looking at You by MC5 is playing. After he gets off the phone with Lester Bangs, he's hanging out with the Band-Aids in their room, and the song Reeling in the Years by Steely Dan is playing. He's trying to get his work done. The Band-Aids are just kind of hanging out, bouncing around in the room, jamming out to music. He's in the bathroom trying to get his work done. He has all his post-its all over the place. Penny Lane comes in to go to the bathroom. They have a very intimate discussion about being close to each other and being friends. The other Band-Aids run in and tell William he's going to be deflowered. And as they are prancing around him, pulling him onto the bed, saying they are going to deflower him and that it's going to be fun, the song Lucky Trumbull by Nancy Wilson plays. Now it's the next morning. William is on the phone with Rolling Stone. He still didn't get his interview with Russell. He's getting really pissed off about it. And they're on their way to the next town and next hotel for the next show. And he's hoping he gets what he needs so he doesn't have to go all the way to New York with the band, which means he would miss graduation. As they are showing up to the new hotel, the song I'm Waiting for the Man by David Bowie is playing. And the reason for this is because there's a quote-unquote cameo by David Bowie in the hotel as fans are running after and being excited that he showed up, and he's being pushed into the elevator. It's not really David Bowie, but it's someone portraying David Bowie. So now they're playing a new show and Stillwater is on stage. The song Love Comes and Goes by Stillwater plays. Later on, after the show, they are backstage and they're introduced to a new band manager who is played by Jimmy Fallon. And they're told that if they leave their tour bus and go on a plane, they could hit more shows and get a lot bigger and do much, much better. They admit that that's what they should do, so they decide next day they're gonna leave on a plane, leave their tour bus, and continue on that path. At this time, you see Penny Lane on an empty floor of the venue. You know, there's just like garbage everywhere, there's confetti, and she's just kind of dancing and enjoying herself, and the song The Wind by Cat Stevens is playing. Now, a fact about this moment, Cameron Crowe admits that the scene where Penny Lane is dancing by herself in the Cleveland Auditorium is his favorite scene in the film. So now they're heading to the plane, they're on the tarmac, the song Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix is played, and now they're in Boston. So once they make it to Boston, William is walking through the hotel, and he's going down the hallway, and the song Slip Away by Clarence Carter is playing. And this is where he runs into Russell and the band manager selling off the Band-Aids for $50 and a case of beer, saying that they are not allowed to follow the band to New York because ultimately some of the guys are married and they have these Band-Aids following them, creating different romances. They can't have them being followed to New York. So William is talking to Penny after the fact, and they're having an argument because she doesn't understand why he's being so coarse with her, and the song Misty Mountain Hop by Led Zeppelin plays. They get in an argument and they go their separate ways. Penny Lane kind of agrees that she shouldn't show up to New York, but doesn't really say. William shows up to New York with the band. They're unloading all of their suitcases outside the hotel. He runs into a friend that he recognizes from his original neighborhood, from the Hyatt House, and finds out that Penny Lane is in New York. So he's already feeling anxious. They're at this club eating dinner. They're at a nice long table. There's a lot going on. It's a big restaurant, different rooms, but they have a specific private room with open doors. And the song Wishing Well by Free is being played. In the background, again, another dinner song is Chance Upon You by Stillwater. William gets a call from Rolling Stone admitting that the band is going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, which is very super exciting. So he gets to admit this to the band, and at this time, Jason Lee starts singing a verse from the song Cover of the Rolling Stone by Dr. Hook. So even though there's a lot of excitement happening, Russell, out of the corner of his eye, could see that Penny Lane is in the restaurant staring at him, trying to get his attention. And that's not good, because next to him is his wife. So William notices this, and William, being in love with Penny and feeling really close to her, decides he's going to get up and go follow her. She's upset. She knows that Russell wants nothing to do with her. You know, she's being given all these looks. She doesn't understand why, and she runs back to the hotel very upset. William follows her. He can't find her yet. He's just running through downtown New York trying to find her in a taxi. And at this time, the song Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters by Elton John starts playing. And this song continues playing for quite some time. William finds Penny in the hotel room. She just took a bunch of pills, some Quaaludes, and she's drinking, and she's kind of in and out and being upset and crying. She's about to pass out. So William grabs her, helps her, calls the doctor in the hotel, and they run up and they're helping her. They make her throw up all these pills. And while William is watching her in the bathtub throwing up all these pills with the hotel doctor, he's staring at her legs as she's like kicking and throwing up, and the song My Sherry Amore by Stevie Wonder plays. This is the one moment I don't agree with in the movie, because why is he staring at her while she's laying on the bathroom floor in her like mini skirt? Like, gross. Like, she's puking. Like, yes, you could love her regardless of what's happening, but still, not a good moment. But a good song. So now after this moment, William is on the plane with the band. They're heading to the next city. The plane is about to crash. Like, it hits a lot of turbulence. Even the pilot seems scared. So they all start yelling out all these different truths happening between the characters, just things that you can never unsay. William admits that he loves Penny and that she almost died the night before, and no one cared, and no one cares about the Band-Aids, and all they wanted was to be fans of the music and be cared for, and they got sold off for a case of beer. William's just really pissed off and just starts yelling at everybody. Again, everyone says things that they can't take back. So now William, once he gets to the next airport, he decides to head back home. He meets up with his sister, who is a stewardess, and she looks super cute and amazing in her cute little stewardess outfit, and they both head back home, where she sees the mom again, and William is now back home too. Whole family's back together. And during all this transitioning, where Stillwater is still continuing on tour, William's back home, Penny's back home, the Rain song by Led Zeppelin is playing. There is a little bit of phone tag happening, because Russell tries to call Penny, but then Penny gives Russell William's address because Russell wants to come visit. So then next thing you know, Russell shows up to William's house, and that's where William finally gets his interview with his friend, who is Russell. Penny is heading off on a plane to go on vacation, just like she always said, and William is just continuing to write, and the band is starting their next tour for 1974, and there's a full montage of just everything going on, and the last song of the movie is Tangerine by Led Zeppelin. As the credits roll, we hear Pet Sounds by Beach Boys. And that is our movie. So along with the soundtrack and along with this fictitious band and the amazing songs they create, it really gives you an idea of that era. And it isn't just all about being a gross rock star, about sex and drugs and breaking stuff and hotel rooms. It has a lot of different emotions, and I feel like this movie showed that, and it showed the different levels of people that were a part of that community. Like, we had the Band-Aids, we had the band, we had William, who was a rock reporter, we had Lester Bangs, and that was asked a lot to Cameron Crowe at the time. One of the articles I came across, the critics berated the film for its lack of sex and drugs, but in 2005, Cameron Crowe told Paste magazine that his rock star friends understood the film. Quote, And it was those guys that were the biggest fans of Almost Famous that said, yeah, sex and drugs and stuff are a part of rock and roll, but a true musician never picks up the guitar at first because they just want sex and drugs. It's usually because a record blew their head off and they never could go back to whatever they wanted to do or be before. And that's what I think Almost Famous is about. It's about getting your head blown off by a piece of music, and everything else is secondary. So please, when you watch this movie, let me know who your favorite character is and how you feel about the lifestyle of a rock star being shown in this way. Again, the film performed poorly in theaters, and it was widely acclaimed by critics, and it earned about 4 Academy Award nominations, though, including a win for the Best Original Screenplay. And it also won the 2001 Grammy Award for the Best Compilation Soundtrack. And something really cool, Roger Ebert hailed it as the best film of the year and the 9th best film of the 2000s. So it just took some time to get people into it. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about all the songs in this film and a little bit of fun facts throughout it. So please go check this movie out, listen to the soundtrack. I will link it in my show notes also. Again, it's not as filled as the movie, but the soundtrack is one of those start to finish. You just got to enjoy it. I can't wait to hear what all of you think. I'll see you guys next time. Keep on rocking.